All right, there now to talk more on this development and implications for the economy, the Chief Economist, Chief Executive Officer of Analytics Data Services Resources Limited, Ibadan, Dr. Afolabi Olowookere. Thank you so much, Dr. Olowookere. It's good to see you. Finally, we have you in.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to our viewers. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I think it's best to start with an overview of the figures released by the NNPCL. The profit declared seems to be impressive. How will you react to this?
Yes, so, I mean, if you have a profit of about 3.3 trillion, that's a lot of money, especially when you look at where we are coming from. We are coming from something of last year, or in 2022, of about 2.5 trillion. I mean, profit of 3 trillion is more than the revenue of the first two most capitalized firms put together. Even revenue, not even profit at this level. So it's good news that NNPC has been able to increase not only its revenue significantly, but very importantly, the profit that it has been able to generate in the last 3 years. If you look at where we are coming from in 2018, which was far lower than this, it was negative, about 830 billion naira. That was negative net profit or net income, and now coming to about 3.3 trillion. I think it's relatively impressive. One major thing that it also shows is that there is potential for increase. That means if it is possible for NNPC to be profitable in the last 3 years, it can continue to be profitable, and the country can continue to benefit from that organization, especially in the post-PIA era.
Well, because I'm interested in that post-PIA era and what it means. But the company went from owing, like you said, 803 billion in 2018 to make profit for the first time in over 40 years. Let's highlight the impact of oil theft, vandalism on these figures. So are you saying NNPC could have even done better?
Yes, definitely. I mean, look at what the budget looks at. Budget will look at something around 1.7, 1.8 million barrels per day. You know what that implies for the country, especially if you're having oil price higher than $80 per barrel. That's a lot of money. That's something that the country can. Whether we like it or not, oil is still a major driver of this economy for two reasons. It's a major contributor to the revenue of government, which we share in fact. It's also a major contributor to our foreign exchange earning receipt and what we use to import goods and services in the country. So if we are able to reach something like 1.8 million barrels per day, that is going to be very positive for all tiers of government. So NNPC could have done better. 3.3 trillion, brilliant. But we can become more brilliant, especially if we are not working with the kind of constraint they are working with. Oil theft is there, vandalism is there, and a major factor is that also being a government agency. You know, sometimes we want government agencies to also run like private. There are also many other considerations. They are also working in a sector where there are alternative energy, where many IOC may probably be divesting from the operation, not only because of the situation in the country, but because of their long-term strategy of moving into alternative energy and some investment in other jurisdictions of the world. So when you look at it, NNPC has done far better than it used to do in the last 5 years, but we could have done better. Imagine if we can produce more. Imagine if prices go up. Imagine if we're able to address oil vandalism and theft. Far better results, and then there will be less criticism in terms of what NNPC has been doing.
Again, let's highlight substantial amount of taxes, levies, and statutory deductions contributed to the Federation. Staggering 8.6 trillion naira is what we have here. Now, what is expected now? Let's look at these funds, the impact on economic growth and development.
Okay, so that's a lot. Let's look at something, for instance. Federal government budget this year will be about 27, 28 trillion naira. And if you look at all the tiers of government, it's about 45 trillion naira. And when you look at the revenue of government, even though government sometimes will say, federal government, for instance, will say we are going to do about 10 trillion or 12 trillion or 15 trillion, but we all know that they don't do as much as that. It's always budget. What does that mean? If one agency of government can contribute over 8 trillion, it's a substantial part of our budget. Not only for the federal government, so paying taxes, I mean, there will be VAT that will come through that excess, there will be levies, there will be company income tax. Don't forget, before PIA, they probably will not be paying some of these taxes anyway. But now with PIA, being more profitable also means that FAC will become more profitable, if I can use that word. And a lot of money, like 8 trillion, 8 trillion can do a lot of things in the country. By the time you share that across all tiers of government, they can produce or provide more health facility, we can have more energy, we can have hospitals, as I said, we can have better education. I mean, this can have positive impact on people. So it's not only the contribution in terms of dividend paid to the owners of NNPC, but very importantly, what happens along the value chain. Revenue are generated, people are employed, taxes are paid, contractors are employed, who themselves pay taxes on whatever they do, to the extent that we are very transparent and we are very accountable. Then 8 trillion is a lot of money to government budget process in Nigeria. One can only hope that we'll see more of this so that we can have more contribution to federation accounts, more money to go to the federal government, more money to go to the state government, and more money to go to the local government, now that most of the local government will now start having their money directly from federation accounts.
Hold your thoughts there, Dr. Olowookere. We'll take a break. You're watching Business Nigeria. All right, there, glad to have you back. Yes, we continue our conversation. Now, we've talked about the PIA, and it's looking like we're beginning to reap the positives of the PIA at this time. What would you say is the outlook moving forward for the NNPCL with regards to financial performance as we move on?
Okay, thank you. Sometimes causality may be difficult to draw, but at least if you did something and you see some kind of result, there's all tendency to attach such results to some of the things that you've done. Now, being a commercialized entity, one will expect improved performance. Of course, you have to start benchmarking NNPC to certain other companies around the world. So the only thing we can talk about in terms of outlook is that this type of performance should be continued. PIA, which has made NNPC to be a commercial entity, and then it can stand alone, it can generate money, it can do quite a number of things that the public could not do when it was 100% head. But being a commercial entity implies that it will do more, it will generate more. Can we say we've started seeing the results? Yes, definitely. If before PIA, we were having losses over 40 years, and after PIA, we are having this type of result from 2.5 trillion to 3.3 trillion, one will expect that by next year, or by the time the result of this year comes out, we probably, I want to say something positive. We should be talking about 6 trillion, or if possible, 10 trillion in terms of profits that comes from that enterprise. So one can then say that PIA is having a positive impact. I mean, if you see this and you are able to see this outcome, you can attach the outcome to what you have seen. So going forward, we should be talking of an NNPC that is more efficiently run. We believe that we can start seeing the result, or we are beginning to see the result, or we can see more as we move forward. We should be talking about NNPC that also generates, people talk a lot about NLNG. We are now talking about NNPC should be listed. Imagine if NNPC becomes a listed company. I used to say before now that NNPC that have been generating negative profit, if you want to come to the market to be listed, people will not like to buy you much, or the price that you are going to be valued at will be very small. But imagine an NNPC that is able to increase its profitability significantly in the last 3 years and continue to do so in the last 1 or 2 years. Such an NNPC will be able to attract private sector in terms of core investor to be able to invest in that sector of the economy, and then with time, be able to get listed on the stock exchange. Nigerians can then have access to part of it. It doesn't have to be 100% privately owned. Definitely, government is going to have a significant portion of that ownership of that enterprise, because oil is a major part of Nigerian economy, and we also have to understand the political economy around it, and there are also issues of fiscal federalism. So going forward, we believe NNPC should be able to continue on this trajectory, taking this far further, and then more investors in terms of core investors, in terms of private investors, in terms of public investors, if get being listed, people have access to it, more transparency, more accountability, is able to work in the light of what we have in Petrobras, in terms of what we have in Saudi Aramco, then people can start saying, this is working for us. So I'm positive on what NNPC is doing, and I believe a government enterprise like NNPC can actually show people that government-owned enterprises can work if all hands are on deck going forward.
Before I let you go, Doc, I'm also, we are yet to even take more advantage of gas, which we have proven and unproven reserves. And that's where the NNPC is also looking at now. Look at the drive for CNG, cleaner energy, and all of that. And of course, thanks to the PIA, that is also allowing us explore that end. So if we put all of this together, really, it looks like it's going to be better than what it used to be. What do you make, or how does this come to you?
No, definitely. I mean, what we've just done is for anybody to then start picking annual report of NNPC and start looking at their investment trajectory, and then that will also affect the valuation of NNPC. So you are just giving a very good investment advice to say that we should not be looking at what we are generating now. We should more importantly be interested in the potential in the NNPC that we have. NNPC has to up its game, definitely. I mean, there's no doubt about that. They are doing more. Now we've seen better results than we used to see. They can do far better. Definitely they have to. Of course, when you do well, you also want to, you don't want to fall below this level. I believe NNPC will try to do far better than this next time. And gas is a very big potential, especially when people are moving to cleaner energy. That is the future, really. CNG vehicles, the president just launched some vehicles at the State House some weeks ago. We are talking about what do we do about petrol so that we spend less on petrol and we need to CNG. People are using 15 gas. There are so many things that are happening with gas these days. So investment in that area definitely will boost the revenue. I mean, when I was looking at the revenue, this is a big money, trillions of naira in terms of revenue. It's a lot. I mean, people can say that is not the best we can do, definitely. But trillion is trillion, whether we like it or not. And having a contribution of close to 9 trillion in terms of taxes, and also paying a dividend of over 2 trillion. That's a lot of money. Imagine if gas is added, what can we do? So NNPC has a lot of potential, and I think if it comes to the market now, I mean, I don't want to be an investment advisor, but definitely a lot of people are interested in buying the ride.
Indeed. Finally, I just see that jump from 2022, 2.5 to 3.2, and I see that jump. That's really impressive hike there. A lot of work to be done, and a lot of work has been done. I must thank you so much for your insights on this and breaking these figures down, making us understand it better. Dr. Afolabi Olowookere is Chief Economist and Chief Executive Officer, Analyst Data Services Resources Limited in Ibadan. Thank you so much. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for being here.
Asian stocks scaled the one-month peak